So Josh from Missouri, what have you got for us today, Josh?
Oop, Josh, are you there? Oh, and
Maybe.
are you on mute?
Yes, hello?
Oh, there it is.
Hi, sorry about that. I had to run to my phone. I've been with you guys for quite a while now, so I apologize about that.
Okay.
All right. You've been on hold for a while, so I understand, but go ahead.
So the topic I wanted to talk about today, hopefully I'll just keep it short, would be secular versus religious upbringing. And I'll go into a little bit more detail about that. But my roommate in college and we were getting into a discussion. Mm-hmm. He was raised Catholic and has since become he identifies as a non-believer. And we were talking about what we would do if we had kids. And even though he identifies as a non-believer, he insists that he will still raise his children in a religious background. And he believes that this would be more beneficial. It would, I guess, result in like a less violent person or something. I'm not quite sure what he's
I've heard that sort of thing too.
So I was just wanting to know what you guys' thoughts were about that.
Wow. Yeah, that's.
I can take a stab at it.
Yeah.
I think that there seems to be an instinct where when there's a kid born and the thoughts are towards raising the kid, there is this nostalgia perhaps for religion or a religious upbringing that you might have had, and some of the good things. I remember Martin Wagner would say, that he had just a wonderful time in the church as a kid because there were all these activities and fun things to do, and and a lot of it is quite wholesome. And daycare. We can't.
Yeah.
That's not a small thing for a lot of folks. And I think our secular organizations have some catching up to do yet on those sorts of things where we need to do better in supporting folks with children, especially young children, to help them grow up better and these sorts of things. And so it may be that the community part of the religion is important for folks, and it may be that they don't have a good secular alternative. That said, I have to say that the indoctrination is bad. I think that in Sunday school, a lot of kids learn pretty early on about the Noah's flood, and God killed everybody, and isn't that wonderful? Because the little furry animals go on a boat ride, and
you just skip over that genocide part a little bit.
Yeah,
in the story.
And it's not ever, because it's discussed so young with these kids, that I don't think they ever sort of take it out and re-examine it again as adults. Mm-hmm. And so it becomes a bit of a thing that is a little I don't know, salt in the machine, grinding away.
Well, I know that. I mean, there's a lot of secular families that are raising their children as secular. It doesn't necessarily mean that they're going to be critical thinkers. It's just that's something that you have to instill, and a lesson that you have to teach. But there's a lot of resources that are out there. If you look at secular parenting, just on Google, and try to find some resources as finding good lessons to teach morality on that side. But what you pointed out about the community side, that is a big issue, because I was raised in large church homes, and you had these just large functions in Easter, and there was these big hullabaloos that went around that, and got to get your best suit out for this thing. I remember I had a blueberry and gold suit.
You were styling, huh?
For an Easter, and it looked amazing. Like let's be clear, like it looked amazing, and I mean, it doesn't of course fit now, but my goodness, it was awesome, and I would totally wear it now if I could. But that community aspect I thought was good. However, along with that came other issues when I realized that I was gay. Well, that caused a lot of inner turmoil with me, because the way I was taught, was against the word of God. I had to go through that and
You were defective.
yeah, and deal with that for years
Yeah.
until I kind of justified it internally to myself. But if I was raised in a way that, was secular in nature and didn't go and, was more, science-based or fact-based, however you want to describe it, there's a lot of things that I went through that I wouldn't have had to back then. And I still probably would have been the empathic person that I am today, wanting to volunteer and everything else. But some of the issues I had to go, like even coming out as atheist, that was a whole trial. That was a whole big thing. It wasn't something that was small or insignificant. It was so large of a decision about how I should do that. Should I post it here? All of these things. And
So you came out twice, right?
right. And I just, like, to say that one would be better than the other, this way would, make you more moral, and it's just like, if you look at the jail system, well, that doesn't seem to necessarily bear out in the statistics of those religious beliefs of those that are currently in prison, although there's some gray area there in some cases. But there are secular families that are raising perfectly well-adjusted children. We have the show, one of the ACA shows, Parenting Beyond Belief, that people call and talk about their issues raising secular kids or raising a secular household. And so I don't see the data that necessarily says, I guess what your friend is asserting, that raising someone in a secular home might necessarily make them more, morally repugnant or something along those lines. I'm not sure how well that bears out.
Yeah, so if I remember the conversation correctly, I think the way he put it was he would treat it kind of like a Santa Claus kind of system, where he would indeed teach his children that God was real and all of this stuff. And I think his argument was that it would cause them to be more moral, in the sense that when it comes to raising kids, it's more effective to teach them on he wouldn't admit it outright, but more on a fear-based system. Like, he believes that the kids wouldn't misbehave so much if they knew that there was a God watching them at the time. And then he would say that, as they get older, they'll grow out of it, and they'll learn that it was like Santa Claus.
But some people don't grow out
growing
of
up,
it.
they knew that they learned how to behave, I guess. So that was the benefit that they got out of it.
Yeah, the morality that comes with a lot of religions is rules-based. And I don't know, I'm a computer scientist, and rules-based systems always have contradictions and gaps. So they're inherently flawed, and so a God would never do that. But we have to grow out of that sort of morality, because the because God said so morality,
Right.
and grow into a values-based morality, because that's the only way you're going to answer or try to answer the more difficult moral questions, where you have values coming into conflict, and how are you going to deal with those things?
Right, especially when if you're saying that, you shouldn't, steal, little Timmy's toy on the playground, because God will get you. Well, that's,
That's right.
versus, talking of, actually going into the issues of why taking that would be wrong, and, teaching your children about how that affects other people. And, depending on how old they are, you may not necessarily go into blow it up to societal proportions of how that affects things, but you can at least, instill those things. What if I took your Nintendo Switch from your house? What if I took it there and put it in my room and kept it in mine the whole time? Or what if one of your friends took it?
Right.
How would that make you feel? Trying to get them to empathize and really understand that, so that it's not just because I said so, but rather this is wrong because this causes harm. Even if you bring that down to their level, whatever age level they are, I think that may be a more effective way of instilling that value versus an "I told you so" type of thing, and then there's a punishment after to back it up.
Okay. Anything else, Josh?
I can see that. Yeah, I think that's about it. Just getting your opinion. Do you think that secular and religious upbringing both have their advantages and disadvantages? Could either one just be superior to the other, or are they just? What do you think?
I think that a secular upbringing can be superior, but it often isn't.
Really?
So, I think you can have a completely well-adjusted kid that understands how the world works and, doesn't have any delusions about, how, God's taking care of things or doing things, and knowing that when Fluffy dies, the cat is really gone and isn't just often, but I think as far as the secular upbringing of folks, I don't know that everybody's equipped to be a good parent, and we don't have as much support in the secular community for those parents, and so they have a bit of a harder row to hoe.
Yeah, I think I hear what you're saying. I think that covers it. Thank you guys so much for the call. I really appreciate it.
All right, thank you, Josh.
Yeah.